Good morning, everyone. This is Leah Dixon from Port Coquitlam, British Columbia, and I am coming live right now with my January to June 2022 mini catalog launch. And we're also so lucky to have the Sale-a-bration Catalogue going on at this time as well. So thank you everyone for joining me. I'm just going to give you guys a few minutes to pop on. This isn't a usual time for me to be doing my Facebook Lives. I usually do them at 9 a.m. on Wednesdays. So when you do pop on, if you want to say hi, that would be awesome. I'd love to see who's joining me and who's checking out the new catalog. If you already have a catalog in hand, you can also throw in the comments like your favorite stamp set or embellishment or whatever from the new January to June mini catalog. Awesome. So I am going to switch over to my desktop where you guys will be able to see these catalogs. So super exciting. We haven't been able to show you guys the inside of these. Oh, hi, Nicole. Hopefully you guys aren't too cold there in Ottawa. Our temperatures are finally warming up here in Vancouver. So these are our two new catalogs. So we still have our annual catalog that's in full swing, and I'm actually using some products out of it today, well, mostly because all of our cardstocks are there. But I'm just going to do a quick walkthrough. Hi, Debbie. Do a quick walkthrough our mini catalog, and I've got some samples made using some of the products because although the catalog itself is gorgeous and has so many ideas in it, seeing the product in person is always and used by normal people, not artisans from Stampin' Up, is always just a little bit nicer and you get a better sense of what the product is. And then I've got 4 cards that we are going to make today. And then with a $60 purchase, you actually have the ability to receive all the bits to make the cards that I'm making today. So it's kind of like a card class in reverse. You see the class and then you get your stuff instead of getting your stuff and then attending the class. So I'm just going to hop right in and let you know we do have like a ton of new stuff in here. And so at the very beginning is just a little bit about our kits and our paper pumpkin. So we do have a brand new kit out right now. It's a birthday card kit. I was hoping to be able to show it to you today, but my order hasn't arrived yet. So watch for that on a future future Facebook Live. We also have our paper pumpkins, and so we've just started advertising February's paper pumpkin because our subscription period goes until the 10th of the month, so January's subscription is over. But February's is a safari-themed birthday card kit, so super duper fun, and there's some great benefits to signing up for paper pumpkin now during Sale-a-bration. Oh, how strange. I'm not sure. I know we've had some major internet problems, so hopefully it's not on my end, but I keep cutting out. Well, fingers crossed that it is on your end or that it fixes itself. So paper pumpkin right now, when you get a prepaid subscription of 3, 6, or 12 months, you actually earn Sale-a-bration rewards. So that's kind of cool. All right, so the first set that I wanted to share with you that I have some samples for is this gorgeous Sweet Talk suite. And so you may have seen these on my Facebook page. Here are a couple of cards that I created using the stamps, dies, and designer series paper from this suite, as well as the gorgeous little iridescent rhinestones and the gingham embossing folder. So really, really sweet little set here, and great for more than just Valentine's Day cards because a lot of the paper is just regular patterns and stripes, and really great for making all sorts of cards. All right. Oh, now I gathered up all the stuff I wanted to show you, and I didn't contemplate a place to put it after I've shown it to you. So these iridescent rhinestones, you're going to see them on a few cards today. They are hands down my favorite embellishment in the catalog. All right, and so we've got a little bit of a closer view here of the stamp set that comes in there. Now it is fairly Valentine's-y, but there's a few little pieces in here that that can be used for other things. And then the tag die is fabulous for all sorts of cards. All right, we've got some more Valentine's Day stuff, some super cute like gumball machines and robots and everything. So if you've got those kids in your life, these are perfect. This is a set that I just got my hands on a few days ago. It was on my original wish list, but I just, you know, finances had to wait to grab it. But I just got this set and it is absolutely gorgeous. One of the cards that we're going to make today is actually featuring this one and showing off the dies. But I'll show you this one quickly. This is just a really fast, simple card to make using these beautiful tulip stamps. And then some of the die pieces are just these really fun kind of textures and everything for the background. The embellishment that goes with this suite are these beautiful brushed brass butterflies. And they're just really easy to use and very, very sweet touch on any card. So that is our Flowering Fields. Now this Flowering Fields actually contains 2 bundles. I got the Flowering Tulips bundle. There's also the Tulip Fields bundle that comes with like some fun bicycles and windmills and everything. All right. And so here's a bit of a closer view of both of those bundles. Next up is one that if you've been on the internet at all, I'm sure you have seen this one. This is the Rainbow of Happiness stamp set and dies, and it happens to coordinate with one of our Sale-a-bration papers. And so it has been super duper popular. We are creating a card using this set, so you'll get a bit of a closer view at that. We've got our Friends of the Forest, and this coordinates with our Reindeer Punch from the previous mini catalog. So that's a really nice feature of that stamp set. We've got our adorable little ladybugs here, and they have a punch and everything, and they make just the sweetest little cards. And so because the wings punch out separate, you can stamp them how you'd like, pop them up, and just have a great time creating some fun little things. Hi, Shirley. So there we go. That is our ladybugs. Sorry, just a bit of a tickle. We've got our Wildflower Path. So if you like those kind of more nature and floral patterns, we've got a really nice kind of watercolor set there. The absolutely gorgeous Symbols of Fortune. I don't have the stamp set and dies yet, but I have all the other pieces of this suite. There's some mother of pearl paper that is gorgeous. The polished dots we're going to be using on a card today. The soft succulent satin shimmer ribbon is gorgeous and so soft and easy to use. And then some really beautiful Asian inspired papers with that touch of gold in them. They're just fabulous. And there's a bit of a closer look at the stamp set. So some really nice sentiments as well. All right. And then who couldn't use a tropical vacation with the Paradise Palms? And then we've got some more springtime stuff, some flowers, our chicks and bunnies, some Easter sentiments in case you need it. A gorgeous little greenhouse. This guy's so fun to play with and so many things you can do. And the dies that come with it are incredible. Not sure if you guys can see those. Are pretty tough to see on this page. But you get the full like frame of the greenhouse and everything. Here's an example of it being cut out. So really, really neat set, especially if you've got a gardener in your life or you are a gardener. All right. I live in Vancouver, so who doesn't need a rain boot set and some fun tulips? Unfortunate reality of living here on the wet coast. And we've also had our fair share of windy days, and so we've got this awesome little kite set. So some really, really sweet stuff. This was the first thing on my wish list. This is the Artfully Composed suite, and it's got all of those gorgeous tropical leaves, patterned papers, some really fun vellum, these awesome little faux sea glass stones, and some great frayed ribbon. We're going to be featuring a card today using that, so I won't spend too much time talking about that because we'll get to it. But there's a closer up view of the stamp set itself. Then we've got our dahlias. In case you were missing them from the last catalog, they've come back in a slightly smaller form, a bit easier to use and not take up the whole card front. Some more flowers and some lovely watercolors, some daffodils, and these daffodils are so beautiful. The dies are amazing, the stamp set's amazing, but what's even cooler about this one is that we have designer series paper in our Sale-a-bration offering that coordinates. So when you purchase this, or the bundle, you actually can earn the designer series paper for free. So really, really nice. All right. Then we've got a little bit of seaside stuff happening underwater and along the shore. Really nice watercolor again. I love our distinctive stamps and how they do all the work for you. Again, with our amazing silhouettes, all the work's done for you, all that shading and everything's done in the stamping itself. Same with our Eden's Garden bundle. It gets all that, like the shading and everything done just with a single ink and stamp. This is another one of our new suites, the New Horizons. This designer series paper, it's a 6x6 paper and it's all watercolor horizons. Absolutely gorgeous. You'll see a little bit of that in one of our cards today. And just some cute little things. I feel like I have to buy this one just because of the bundle of radishes. For whatever reason, my son has this thing for like radishes and turnips, and it's like this joke with their friends that they buy them for each other for birthdays. So I feel like this is a set I need just for him. Some more gorgeous nature patterns here, some more deers and awesome backgrounds. This stamp set and, well, this whole suite, the Abstract Beauty suite, is one that I'm particularly fond of. I have a stamp camp coming up in February featuring this one. There are still spots available. Now, I was just told that one of my links might not be working, so if you do try to register for this stamp camp and the registration button's not working, please just send me an email. Once this catalog launch is over, I'm going to be going in and seeing what's going on with it and fix it if it needs fixing. But definitely contact me by email if you're trying to register for this and can't get through, because there are still spots available and the deadline has not passed yet. And this one is actually available for Canadians and Americans. It's slightly different what you'll get when you sign up, but everybody will get access to our Facebook group and the 16 live videos when we do this. And now I do actually have, oh, sorry, I forgot to show you. I have a bunch of cards here that I forgot to show you. So when I was talking about the daffodil paper, there we go. This is actually used just straight up that daffodil paper and a birthday sentiment. So really, really nice paper. Here is an example of that Horizons paper in the background. So I did not watercolor that. I am not, you know, I do like watercoloring, but I'm not a talented watercolorer. That is just designer series paper, as is this paper here at the base of this bear card. So it's just part of that New Horizons designer series paper. So fabulous. And then here we go with our Abstract Beauty. These are not cards from our stamp camp, just ones that I've played around with and created using the Abstract Beauty suite. And so this is the Hive design embossing folder in the background, some of the designer series paper, the stamps, the dies. Like, it's just such a gorgeous set. Here I've used the hexagons to cut out some of the designer series paper and then paired it up with some hexagons from the ephemera pack from the main catalog. And my favorite one, using some of the ephemera pack from the Abstract Beauty suite, paired up with some die cuts and some of the patterned paper, and of course the little hexagon self-adhesive resin dots. So really, really fun set to work with. All right, let's make sure I don't forget to show you guys all the samples I have created. So again, that one has a stamp camp. You can find the link to it on my link tree, and I put that into the description of this video. All right, we've got some new Slimline products going on. We've got new Slimline envelopes, some dies that do some really cool stuff, and then some sentiments that are larger and longer to go on those Slimline cards. So if you don't know what a Slimline card is, it's kind of those cards that fit into like a proper letter envelope. So they're a little bit thinner and a lot longer. All right. So then we've got some more romantic kind of feeling stamp sets and some really fun kind of silly ones going on, like your friendship is brag-worthy as a dress with pockets. That is brag-worthy. Love dresses with pockets. So just some fun little ways of saying hi to a friend and saying you're thinking about them. We have some more like swirly, flowery stuff. If you're into stamps with people, we've got these great ones. I love some of the sentiments too. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is relax. The Heart and Home Suite is one that I have really enjoyed working. It's a suite that again contains 2 different bundles, and I actually have a ton of cards. Actually, I only have 3 to show you, but I've created a ton of cards with this. I am going to do the cards in just a few minutes, Shirley. So I've got this Miss You with the bees from the Honeybee Home. A gorgeous card here using the Blessings of Home stamp set and another Blessings of Home stamp set card. So really, really nice. Nice cards using that suite. It's a really subtle one with some gorgeous flowers. And there it is in full, like both full stamp sets. We've got some kind of fun little guys, little ways of saying hello, some more fun little hedgehogs, a whole stamp set of sentiments, some cactuses. You'll notice I don't have any samples for these. I haven't really gone through and grabbed any. And then, oh, we've got our Hey Sports Fan. I thought I had a sample for this, but I don't. My favorite stamp set in the entire catalog is our Wildlife Wonder. So you've already seen 2 cards that feature these little critters, but then I've got one more here with this bear. Just a sweetheart. Love that bear. And pop in here just a few more stamp sets. The Vikings, I don't know, I might have to grab those. I've taken a Viking to you. And some great Father's Day stuff, especially for the gardener. Finally, for the record, this one is super sweet. And I've seen it embossed in clear embossing on black, and it looks just like a record. It's super cool. And our last page of stamps is just a reminder of some sets that have carried over. They're not actually featured in this catalog, but the Deer Punch, the Timber Embossing Folder, our Nuts About Squirrels, and our Nature's Harvest stamp set and dies have all carried over, as well as our brushed metallic backed dots, or brushed metallic adhesive back dots. All right, and that is our catalog, and it is time to get stamping. So I actually have 4 cards for you today, and those 4 cards do feature some of our Sale-a-bration products. Oh, actually, that reminds me, I do have a few more cards to share with you. These are just a few that have been created with some of the items from our Sale-a-bration. So these are products that with a $60 purchase, you can earn for free. So I showed you guys the daffodils. We've got our Catching Butterflies stamp set. The Driving By stamp set, super fun. I haven't made anything with that van yet, but I will. This Designer Series paper, which we're actually going to be playing with. And the Otters, which they are so much fun. They are so cute. And they go really nicely with the Simply Marvelous Designer Series paper. And then finally, the Friendly Hello stamp set and Designer Series paper. And this is available with a $120 purchase. So we have lots of great offerings in the Sale-a-bration catalog. There are a few other things, but I don't have samples with them. I haven't earned these ones yet. So yeah, that is our Sale-a-bration catalog. Today I actually have a little prize draw going as well. After this video, I'll pop up a little place where you can register, and I am going to be giving away 2 prizes, a package of the Sunshines and Rainbow Designer Series paper and a package of the Simply Marvelous Designer Series paper. So after this catalog launch, watch for the link to register for that. All right, so our first card is featuring the Artfully Obsessed. Oh, have fun at your chalking class, Debbie. You can catch the replay later. So this is the Artfully Obsessed series, and so we've got the Artfully Layered stamp set, the dies, the Designer Series paper, the vellum, and the frayed ribbon. Okay, so what I have today, I actually should move that out of the way so I can actually stamp with you guys. What I have today is a piece of thick basic white cardstock to create my card base, and then I have a piece of Pool Party cut at 4 by 5 1/4, and that's going to go onto my card base. But before we do that, oh, thank you, Karen. And if you look on my Facebook page, you can find a lot of those in like photographs of all of those samples. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So before we glue this down to our card base, I'm actually going to take one of the dies out of our set here. And we actually have 2 of them that create kind of like little hash marks on our card. And so I'm actually going to grab the one that's just straight up lines. And I am going to run it through twice on my cardstock just to give a little bit of texture to my base. So I'm going to grab my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Sorry, this does take up so much of my screen. And I'm going to do one of these kind of down near the bottom in a perpendicular direction. And then I'm just going to take the same hash marks, and so you can see there it creates that hash. I'm going to take the same one and twist it around and put it horizontally up near the top of my card. And roll that through the other way. Oops. There we go. So now what we have with that done is our cardstock piece here that has these 2 little hash marks on it, and it just adds a little bit of interest to the card. So we'll put that off to the side, and while we have our machine out and our dies, I am going to grab a piece of Bermuda Bay cardstock and my favorite leaf from this whole die set. I know those have a name, I just don't know what they're called, but I love them. And we're going to cut one of those out of Bermuda Bay. So I'm going to bring this back up. Position that. There we go. Now this one I could have run through with my mini, but since I have this up here anyways, I might as well keep going, right? All right. And we're going to do one last cut. I have a piece of basic white cardstock, and I think it's about, I don't know, I want to say 1 1/4 by 3. It's not exact. It's just kind of a scrap paper that I had. And I'm running it through with this really fun little border die that we have. Now, I did run it through lengthwise for 2 reasons. It's actually longer than my machine, and also because you don't want to create like a speed bump. All right. So with that created, that die comes off. We've got this little scallop, and then we've got this side that has the stitching and the scallop. So super sweet. All right, so that is all of our stuff cut out to create this card. And now we're going to actually just start putting it together. So let's see, pop this die out. Sometimes they get a little bit stuck. You can use a paper piercer to push them out, or sometimes when you just drop them, they will fall out. There we go. All right, so that's the whole die set. And we are going to get Stampin'. All right, so on this piece that I have here that has this fun, well, I should put that away before I lose it. There we go. So on this piece that has this fun border, I'm actually going to bring in my Stampin' Pierce mat to stamp on. I've grabbed one of the sentiments from this stamp set. I've got the happiest birthday wishes here. And I'm going to ink it up with Bermuda Bay ink. And then I'm going to stamp this centered on this piece down as low as I can without it going over the scallops, or not scallops, over the stitching. There we go. All right. So that is our sentiment stamped. And I am now going to trim this piece up because it's actually bigger than I need it to be, but I wanted to make sure it was bigger just so that I didn't like not have enough space. So now that I've got that stamped, I'm just going to pop it on here on my trimmer and trim it right down so that this comes pretty close. Oh, that's not even as close as I want. I can even make that smaller. Okay, there we go. I could probably even go smaller, but I'm not going to. All right. So now that we've got that, and you guys have seen these, I'm going to move these out of the way so I've got space to create. I'm going to bring in my card base again and this pool party piece. And it's actually this pool party piece that we're going to be working with. And then I've got just some scraps of my designer series paper. So we have this one that's got like a calypso coral on one side, and the other side is this really funky pattern. And so I just cut it into a 1/2-inch strip, and then I cut these into smaller strips. So this one is a 3 3/4 designer series paper strip, and I'm going to adhere it right down here at the bottom of my card, like quite low actually. And I'm just going to do that with some seal. So I know I normally use liquid glue just so that I can position things and move them around, but today I actually don't want them to slip once I've placed them. So I'm going to have to just be extra careful as I'm placing and go from there. All right, so there we go. I've got that piece. Now I'm going to grab this ribbon that I've got. This is my frayed ribbon. And I've just lined it up so that the one end is kind of at the edge of my card. And then I'm going to come in here and cut on a diagonal. There we go. And on the back of this, I'm actually going to use, oh, aren't the fonts gorgeous, Janet? And the dies, Christina. I know. I'm going to actually use Terran tape on the back of this ribbon. It is a really wide, really thick ribbon, and it does fray. It's meant to. It's called a frayed ribbon, but I don't want it to fray like crazy, at least not on this card. So I'm using 2 strips of Terran tape on the back of this so that if it does start to fray, this should stop the fray and not let it go further. So I'm going to really push those down before I try and peel the backing off of them so that it doesn't wreck the ribbon as I'm peeling the backing off. You could probably get away with just doing 1 strip on here, but I just really wanted to make sure that our ribbon stayed intact. All right, now this is the tricky part. I might even try and use a paper piercer. Bear with me while I peel this off. There we go. All right, and 1 more to go. And try not to stick to your adhesive while you're doing it. All right, so now with this piece, I am going to overlap it onto my designer series paper that I've got here, but I'm also going to line it up with the edge of the card. Okay, there we go. And wipe off any extra little bits that we've got. All right, next thing is I'm going to take that sentiment that I stamped and I'm going to put that on so that it layers over top of my ribbon. So I'm actually going to put some dimensionals on the back of this to allow that to stay kind of popped up and accommodate for all that extra ribbon there. All right. And I'm just putting them near the top so that they don't touch the ribbon. So when I overlap this, it will overlap, but I don't want those dimensionals to go down to where the ribbon is. All right, we've got that. And now I'm going to take that other piece that I had, that other designer series paper that I had that actually is the Calypso Coral, but I'm going to put it down so that we can see the fun pattern. We're not getting a ton of the pattern. We can't see the detail of the leaves, but what we are getting is all of that color. Mixture of like Evening Evergreen and Granny Apple, Coastal Cabana, Calypso Coral, like so many different colors in there. And I'm going to tuck that under my sentiment just slightly. There we go. And then my last one that I'm going to put down is a piece of the vellum. And again, I'm just going to put a little bit of seal on the back of that and pop it right down. Oh, the words kind of do have a direction, even though you can't really read them. They do sort of have a direction. So just make sure you get them looking right to you. There we go. So with all those layers attached, I am now going to attach my leaf. Now I'm not going to put a ton of adhesive on them. I am going to grab some mini glue dots and I'm just going to position 3 of them where there's a little bit of a larger space on this leaf. So where all the bits come together, there tends to just be a little bit of room there for a mini glue dot. If you feel like they're too big, once you take the backings off, you can just roll them in and they'll, like that one, I'll just use my paper piercer to roll in the edge of it. Okay, come on. Those backings don't want to go away. There we go. And just bring in the edge. All right, so with just those 3 little glue dots on there, I'm going to take my leaf and I'm positioning it here at the top so that it's going across the corner of my vellum and over top of my crosshatch on my background. So lots of stuff going on here, lots of little bits. I love how all the little pieces from this set work together. Just so beautiful. Now this whole piece is going to get adhered straight to our card base. And I can just use liquid glue or seal or whatever for that. I think I'm going to use my liquid glue just because I do want to make sure I get this lined up nice and straight. So I just have to be aware when I'm near my cross hatching not to get any liquid over top of it because those are actually holes in your paper and the glue will go through it. So I'm just being careful as I get to the cross hatching to stay kind of away from it. Other than that, I'm just going around and then wipe off the excess in the center. There we go. Now we attach that, and our final thing to do for this card is, of course, to add some bling. Oh, thank you, Shirley. It's kind of funny. Now that I'm thinking about the cards I've designed today, I'm not sure I'm using any ribbon today, which is really unusual for me. So now I did have a little bit of a boo-boo here when I was putting my sentiment on. So I am actually just going to take one of my iridescent rhinestones and pop it right on top of there. And now nobody can see that I got a little bit of ink where it shouldn't have been. And then I'm going to grab my other rhinestones and I'm going to use all 3 sizes on this card. And there we go. So we've got our iridescent rhinestones added to the front of this, and they are just gorgeous. So that is our finished card. So just a really fun textured card and a great birthday one. So I'm looking forward to that, to sending that off. My sister's got a birthday in February, so we'll see if it sticks around the house that long. All right, now I'm not even going to put those away because I know I'm using them on another card. But that was our frayed ribbon. And oh, I know, Janet, I am so looking forward to springtime. It will be wonderful. That color combo as well, that Bermuda Bay Pool Party Calypso Coral, is one of my favorites. All right, guys, so now the next card I have to show you is featuring the tulips. A lot of flowers today, which is not really my style, but when I saw these tulips, you guys, I couldn't not have them. I was at a convention for Stampin' Up! Demonstrators back in November, and these were demonstrated to us, and I knew immediately I needed to have these. So first of all, the Designer Series paper has some really nice flower patterns on one side, and then some really nice like watercolor, acrylic, abstract, or just patterns on the other side. So we've got dots and boxes, grids, the fun little, I love these flowers, the cloud scenes, just some basic like multi-hued papers, as well as in the green. So just some really amazing Designer Series papers. But what got me with these tulips was the dies. They make three-dimensional flowers, you guys. So let's pull out all of the stuff here. So I've got my tulip pieces on blocks already, as well as my sentiment. But we've got our flowering tulip stamp set. And then we have the dies. And so there's some really cool dies here that do the backgrounds. I showed you on that card before, the one that does like the little square stitching onto the front. Basic ones that will cut out our stems and leaves and everything. And then we've got some basic ones to cut out our stamped flowers. But these guys, these are the gems in this set. So I am going to take all of these and we're going to die cut them just on some white paper. Okay, so I'm going to move this out of the way for a second while we do that. And for this one, I can actually use my mini, which is so much nicer. All right, so we're going to pull the mini in here. I've got a strip of just basic white cardstock, and we're going to pop all these dies down on here, and I'm going to show you the magic that they create. So these don't have to go on in any particular way, just wherever they fit. I think I can get them all on in one go. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. We'll see. There we go. It's like playing Tetris. All right, so I got all those dies on here. I'm going to run these through. Oh, now, did I? There we go. Uh-oh. Sorry, I just shuffled that and one of my dies moved, so it's not on the paper anymore. There we go. There we have it. So I've just cut out all of those tulip pieces because I'm making 3 tulips. So what these do is they die cut and, where did I put my paper? Oh, there it is. They die cut and they emboss. And so each of these is now, we're going to use multiple pieces and put them together to create our tulips. Okay, come on. There we go. And the last one, so I don't lose it. Oh, it's not going to fit nicely. This is why I tend to switch mine over to magnets, because I'm not very good at keeping all the pieces. All right, so move that off to the side. We're going to take all these pieces and I'm going to show you how they fold. There we go. So I'm going to bring in a piece of scrap paper And oh, I've been stamping tulips on this scrap paper already. There we go. And I'm going to bring in some Calypso Coral ink and a blending brush. And we're going to start coloring these so that you can start to see some of the embossing that's done on here, because it doesn't show through super well on the camera. So I'm going to come in and just the bottoms of these. I will kind of go as close as I can to the top without touching my fingers. But I do actually want it to transition from dark to light at the top. And now what you can see is there's like a little line in there, and we actually fold that, and it creates, here we go, I'll bring it up closer. It creates the beginning of our tulip. Now I've got another piece that I'm going to tuck inside there. And let's see, that one gets this piece. So I think it's that piece. Maybe it's not. Here, maybe it's that one actually. So just kind of come along and sponge that. Now I have tried sponging these before I die cut them, but I'm not always happy with the results of where the color ends up. Okay, so I think, let me see my card sample. That will help me decide. Yeah, that one. Oh, that's why. This one gets two pieces on the inside. Okay, there we go. So it did take me a little bit of time playing around with these to figure out what I liked the look of when you layer them together. There's really no right or wrong. Layer them together how you want, but I've played around and found the way that I find them to be the most appealing. Okay, so we'll glue that one together in a moment. Let's finish inking up all of these. I'm going to make them all Calypso Coral tulips. If only I could pick my garden this way, make them grow exactly how I want them to look. All right, so, and you can add as much or as little color as you want. The Designer Series paper as well has the purples that are all kind of different hues of purple. And so if you die cut your flowers out of the Designer Series paper, it works out really nicely as well. There we go, that's the front. And there's our last piece. There we go. All right, so now with all of those colored, I'm going to put away my blending brush so I don't get ink on anything. I'm going to put away my ink, and we will start to put these flowers together. So I just use a combination of mini glue dots and dimensionals to put these together. So we'll start with this little guy. So he's got two folds on him, one fold that comes over that way, one fold that comes over that way. And then, oh, did I do them upside down? Oh, I think I did. Okay, I did them upside down. Oh, well. And then we just take one of these little bits and put it inside. So when I put this guy inside, I lined them up with the left-hand side so that that's what would show through. And I just used a mini glue dot on the back of him. So I just popped that down onto the mini glue dot, popped that into my flower. And then when I closed this one, that's when I used my dimensionals. So I just put a dimensional on here. Oops. And closed up my tulip. And then on the other side, I did use a mini glue dot because I didn't think it could fit even a mini dimensional on there. And I just put that right there and closed it. And then you can use your tools to kind of tuck that mini glue dot in. And because the mini glue dot's not laying flat, it's being tucked over on itself, it creates a bit of depth to it. So there's one. Now we're going to grab this guy, and this guy folds in as well on two sides. So you can decide which way it crosses over. And then there is a piece that goes inside. Now this one I did use a lot of dimensionals on. I used a dimensional on the bottom of that piece. And then it goes right in like that. And then I used a dimensional on the inside of this piece and closed it up on there. And then I used a mini glue dot on the inside of this piece. And so then just there at the base, nowhere else, and just closed up our tulip. Okay. And then finally, this little guy gets 2 inside. And these ones I did to the initial pieces with mini glue dots. And so this one, I came in like this and put it down below. And then I layered another one over the other side. There we go. And then I used a dimensional to close it all up. And voila. So just like that, we have these 3 beautiful, oh, hi, Gail. We have these 3 beautiful tulips that have all this texture to them. Now, I am looking at mine, and I do think there's quite a bit of color, but I'd like just a tiny bit more color, especially on that one that I inked up backwards. So I'm just going to bring my paper in again, and I'm going to add a little bit more to it. So that's the nice thing about these, is you can ink them up when you start, and then you can come back and add some more as you go. There we go. Actually, maybe just a tiny bit at the top. There we go. I've also played around with these, adding ink to solid colors of cardstock. So starting with like a yellow cardstock and coming in and adding like a red to it, so that it creates like a red, orange, and yellow flower. Really beautiful. Okay, there we go. Lots of color on those. All right, so the next steps on our card, we can get rid of this. Actually, no, I do need this because I'm going to be stamping off my card a little bit. The next steps is I've got a 3-inch by 5 1/4 inch piece of basic white. And I'm going to put my Stampin' Pierce mat underneath, and I'm going to stamp some, where's my ink here? I'm going to stamp some stems and leaves to go with these flowers. So I'm going to pop in here with my stem first, and I'm going to start. I want one of my flowers quite tall and all the way over there. Another one nice and tall, but off to the other side. And then one down just a little bit lower. So with that done, I'm going to come in and add my leaves. And so I need a leaf. Actually, I'd like it to turn that way. So these leaves are neat because they're kind of designed that they can go either way. And so you can get them to bend in any and every direction. And we've got 2 different sizes as well. All right, there we go. And now my last leaves that I want to add on are actually going to go over top, like they'll crisscross over top of my stems. And so I'm actually going to stamp them on a piece of scrap paper and die cut them so that I don't get like that look of the ink across ink. So let's see, I have a piece of scrap paper in here, and I'm going to make those both my smaller leaf. And just stamp that on here. And a second one. There we go. And the ink I'm using is my Pear Pizzazz. So it just goes really nicely with the Calypso Coral. All right, now I will bring back my little cutting machine, because these leaves that we have to cut out actually have dies. So you could fussy cut them, but they do have dies, and so that just makes it a tad bit easier. So I will have to cut these out twice because there's only one of the smaller, oops, one of the smaller die. If I had done a larger and a smaller leaf, then I could have done them both at the same time. Now, if you have trouble lining these up, you can, and keeping them in place, you can always use a little bit of washi tape to hold them in place. There we go. Back out of that. All right, and one more. There we go. That just wiggled a bit on me there. All right. Back up. Okay, so here we go. Second leaf cut out. And now we can attach that to our card. Let's move these out of the way. No. I love that little mini machine. It is such a nice one. Okay. So with that done, I've got these leaves here, and we are going to attach them to our card front. I've got one that I'd like going this way, and the other one I'm going to have going the other way. And so this is why I wanted them to be die cut, because they're going right over top of our other leaves. And so I just didn't want that interfering. Now to attach these, I am actually just being super, like I use up all my bits. I'm using up the edging of my dimensionals because it creates these nice long pieces that will support most of the leaf. And then I also get to use all the bits. Okay, there we go. So let's see, I wanted that one like that. And that one like that. There. And now we're going to attach our tulips to this, but I am going to use mini glue dots to do that. I don't need any extra dimension behind these gorgeous tulips. They have enough going on already. So let's see, I'll start with this one. There we go, got a mini, I might actually put two on the back of that one. I didn't center that very well, so there we go. And I'm going to put that right there. And it does even just kind of go off the edge of our white, just the tiniest bit, and that's okay. All right, my next one that I'm going to put down is this guy. I'm going to put him over here. Now this one, I want to make sure he doesn't go off the edge, but I also want to make sure he looks like he belongs on that stem. There we go. Just because this is going to be the edge of our card, whereas this is going to go over top of some other designer series paper, so it won't be that big of a deal. All right, and then our final tulip down here, this little guy right there. Okay, so I've got my little stand of tulips happening, and I love their color. Oh my gosh, absolutely love their color. Now I'm going to stamp my sentiment on this, and I'm stamping it up in that open space that I have at the top. And I'm just using basic black ink. There we go. Some Memento black ink. And this, I think, is one of my favorite sentiments in the entire catalog. I love the font as well as the sentiment itself. It says, "No one deserves a happier birthday than you." And put that one centered and right at the top. There we go. All right, so that is our sentiment. Oh, Christina, these tulips are amazing. The dies with the three-dimensional, it's so easy. You definitely have to watch the replay and then make a bunch for yourself, because holy cow, they are a showstopper in this catalog. All right, now we're going to just finish up our card by attaching everything to our card base. So what I have is a very tiny strip. It's just 1 inch I hope I cut it down to 5 1/4. I did 1 inch by 5 1/4 of just a tiny bit of our tulip paper. And it's those beautiful yellow tulips. My best friend absolutely loves flowers and absolutely loves the color yellow. And so when I saw this design, I just thought of Leanne and was like, oh my gosh, this is her birthday card. So I always like designing when I know who I am designing for. It makes it so much easier to create just those kind of personal touches on a card, and I always find those are the nicer cards. All right, so I've just glued that straight down to a thick basic white card base. And then I'm going to take some dimensionals and put this down so it's just ever so slightly overlapping that designer series paper. Just like very, very slightly. All right, so some dimensionals to do that. There we go. Oops, that one. There we go. You can peel dimensionals off if you haven't pushed them down. So I always kind of like place them quickly and then give them a little push before I peel their backings off. But that way, if you accidentally put it so it's sticking out, it's very easy to peel off. All right. There we go. And ever so slightly. And this is why we could allow that tulip to kind of fall off the edge on that one side, because it's just going over onto the designer series paper. All right, there. And now this card is not quite finished because this suite, where did I put them? Oh my goodness. Where did they go? This suite has embellishments with it. Oh, picked them up accidentally with the stamp set. There we go. This suite has the brushed brass butterflies. That is hard to say. And they are amazing. So where's my paper piercer? There we go. So I'm going to just pick these up. I do find they're easier to pick up if you take a pick tool or paper piercer underneath them, and then just figure out where you want them and pop them down. Okay. And before you push them down, then you can kind of like wiggle them. Oops, no, I don't want you upside down. You can wiggle them into the direction you want them, and then just give them a little push down, and they'll stay in spot. So it's lovely that they have the adhesive back. So voila, there is my tulips card. I think this one's my favorite card. Just so much fun. I love how those tulips are like three-dimensional and just come to life on this card. So that is, I know the 3D look, Janet, isn't it crazy? I love it. So that is another one of the cards that if you make a purchase today, $60 or more, you will get the bits to do this. So you'll need to either have the stamp set yourself or, your own sentiment and your own stems and leaves. But I will send you guys the die cut pieces for the tulips. So you'll be able to create that 3D look for yourself and then just pair it up with any stems and leaves that you have yourself. Or, for your $60 order, grab this Flowering Tulips bundle and voila, you've got it. All right, so that is our second card. Now, our last two are definitely nowhere near as intricate as these first ones. I wanted to do our intricate ones first. Our next card is actually using, where did it go? The Wildlife Wonder stamp set. I should move these stamps out of the way before I drop something in them. And that they're still inky. There we go. So it's our Wildlife Wonder. Oh, thanks, Stacy. Wildlife Wonder stamp set. This one I absolutely love. I have created all of my swap cards for the different swaps I've participated in using this one. I have my team meeting coming up using this one. My monthly club is using this one. And I am offering, I don't even have it posted yet, you guys. By the end of today, I will, I promise. I am going to have a Wildlife Wonder card class on February 18th. You'll need to RSVP by January 30th. And it's $20 for the class or free with a $60 purchase. And so do watch for the advertisement for that one. And yeah, you guys are going to love it. So this one, I am using the owl stamp to create today's card and a whole bunch of other bits. So I've cut some circles using my layering circles. And so I just used the third one and I think it's the fourth one that layers up with it. So like when you look at them, they layer inside each other perfectly. So those are the two that I've used. And so I've created some circles, which I hope oh yeah, there we go. I have them now. Awesome. And we're going to get started with our stamping on that white circle. So I have my owl, and I'm going to stamp him in Early Espresso. Now, these images are so cool because the way they've been created, you could literally stamp them in a color and just leave them. Like, they're gorgeous. Okay, so I've just stamped that. He is, I'll bring him up closer so you guys have a better view of him. He is amazing. So you could just leave him as is, no problem. But they color so nicely with the blends as well. So this guy, I've played around with a few different ways of coloring him. My favorite is to use soft crumb cake and just color in the stump. And because I've already colored stamped the stump in Early Espresso, all the dark spots of the stump kind of stand out and become more brown looking. And then I grab my dark, I think it's crushed curry? No, dark daffodil delight. And I just come in and do his talons and his beak, just with the fine tip as well. And then I color my whole owl with light smoky slate. And I do use the paintbrush tip. Now, when I color him, I always start around his eyes and make sure that I don't color the whites of his eyes. So kind of go around them. And that's kind of the only spot where you have to be really careful with your coloring. And then I just color in the rest of them. And it's all just with this light smoky slate. And when it combines with all the shading that's already been done for us that I stamped in Early Espresso, it just creates the perfect little owl coloring. Okay. And then if there's any spots that look really light gray, you can go back over them with your light gray blend. You don't even need to go grab the dark smoky slate. You can just go over it and it darkens it. There we go. And that is him all colored in and looking fabulous. So there we go. So really, really easy to get a fabulous result with this stamp set. Now, with all of that done, I probably should have stamped my sentiment first in case I messed this part up, because I have left just enough room, I hope, on this circle to stamp our sentiment that says a note of thanks. There we go. Just enough. That E almost didn't make it on. All right. Now, you could use your Stamparatus if you were worried about that. I don't worry about those kinds of things. I just restamp it if I mess it up. Okay, so now we're going to attach this to our circle, and I cut the circle out using Blackberry Bliss cardstock. Oops, darn it. Sometimes I don't press hard enough and then it tears my paper. Okay, come on, Seal. Oh my goodness. There we go. There we go. All right. So I just center this. This is where liquid glue may have been the better choice, but there we go. So I've got that. So my stamping, oh, good morning, Noelle. My stamping's all done on this one, and we're ready to start to put our card together. So what I have is an evening evergreen card base. Now, before I forget, because I'm looking at my sample and realized I forgot on my sample, I'm going to grab one right now and tuck it in there. Before I forget, I'm going to glue in a piece of basic white cardstock into the center of this card because Evening Evergreen is a very, very hard color to write on when you're trying to write to somebody on the inside of your card. So I just got some liquid glue there, and then I can kind of wiggle that around. There we go. Now, if you wanted to, you could even stamp another owl in there and add some detail to that. Okay, so now with that done, I have got a piece of that New Horizons Designer Series paper I was talking to you about. I'm just going to grab my little stack over here. So this stuff, you guys, is like all these amazing horizons and just watercolored backgrounds, like absolutely gorgeous papers. And so it just makes card making so super, ooh, runaway papers. Makes card making so super duper simple. There's some of the ones that have like the wildflowers, and so that's what it looks like as a whole, the whole horizon there. So I don't have all of them here. I've been using up a lot of them. Like I've gone through a ton of this because they're just amazing. And then there's even one in here. Where did it go? Oh, there's that one. So like you've got some like nice dark days on the water, some mornings, some sunsets. And then, oh, this one. This one, if you've got that cute little stellar, like the little astronauts and everything, makes a great, like, it almost reminds me of like outer space or something. I don't know. These are like amazing, beautiful, snowy background, like crazy. So that's the New Horizons 6x6 Designer Series paper. And it pairs up so nicely with this Wildlife Wonder snap set. So I've got this piece. I did not trim it. It's 3 inches. And the reason I cut it at 3 inches is because then you get 2 pieces out of 1 piece of cardstock or 1 piece of Designer Series paper. So I can make 2 cards like this one. All right. And then I'm going to trim it at 5 1/4. So that's the part that I didn't do. Sorry, guys. Because the paper is 6x6. So now I've got this cute little piece I can use on something. It'd be great to stamp a sentiment on even. All right. So with that 3 by 5 1/4 piece of paper, I am going to glue this straight down to my Evening Evergreen card base. So you'll notice today I've done a few cards like this where I'm gluing my Designer Series paper straight to my card base and then filling in the rest of the space with some cardstock. The last one I did my stamping on my cardstock and used the Designer Series paper to fill the space. Today I've got my Designer Series paper as the main one on this card, and then I'm going to use a piece of Blackberry Bliss cardstock, just a tiny one. It's 1 1/4 inches by 5 1/4, and I'm going to use it as a strip here, but it's a little bit boring if I just do that. So I have, oh, I don't have the right one. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. I have the brand new Stripes and Splatters embossing folder is what I have here. So it's a 2-pack of embossing folders. I'm going to be using the stripes today. And I'm going to take that piece of cardstock, pop it on there, and do my best to make sure that those stripes are going to go perpendicular to my paper. And I'm going to grab my mini boss here. Now, this is the trick. I never can get this combo right. I think it's plate 3, my embossing folder, and then plate 4. Let's see if I'm right. Feels good. Yep. There we go. Okay. So with that done, I have just a little bit of texture to that. Let's see if I can get it so you guys can see the texture. There we go. A little bit of texture to that piece before I glue it down. There. That off to the side. Okay, so, and then I'm going to use liquid glue to glue this one right straight to my card front. I tend not to use things like Sale Plus on these textured ones because it can grab the paper and tear them. So I do like my liquid glue or tear and tape. Okay. Very cool. So, like, wow. You can pretend you're an amazing watercolor and look at that background you've created. All right, so now we've got our little owl that we stamped before. I'm going to throw some dimensionals on the back of them. There we go. And pop him onto my card. Now you can decide where you want him. I feel like I don't need all those trees showing, so I'm going to kind of pop them on there. Make sure my sentiment is nice and horizontal. And now I am going to finish this one up with some polished dots. So these are actually the embellishments that come in the Symbols of Fortune suite. You can buy them separately. You don't have to buy them as part of the suite. And they come in clear and then like this slight like, you know, blushing bride or like a little bit of a pink hue to them. Those are actually the ones that I'm going to use today, just because I'm putting them up in the sky. And there we go. And one more. I'm just going to pop it right down here onto my circle. Okay. And that is our card. Now, I did contemplate putting like some kind of twine behind that circle, but I just thought leave it as is. And I like how that looks. So there you go. We've got that gorgeous watercolor background and just the perfect background for these animals. So that is our third card today. And so you'll get the designer series paper and the strip of embossed paper and your 2 circles. And then you can just stamp your own whatever in there if you don't have that Wildlife Wonder stamp set. Or grab the Wildlife Wonder stamp set, an extra pack of that Horizons paper because you know you're going to want it. And use that as your $60 order to get this card class today for free. All right, and our last card. Kind of save this one for the last just because it's Sale-a-bration. So any $60 order you place right now until February 28th is going to allow you to earn Sale-a-bration products. Oh, thanks, Noelle. And so the Sale-a-bration product that caught my eye was the Sunshine and Rainbows Designer Series paper. It's like, it's bright, it's fun, it's got patterns, it's got things that you can punch out. Actually 4 sheets of Designer Series paper in this pack has these clouds on the back of them, and they coordinate with the brand new cloud punch. So you just come on in here, pop that in, line it up, and voila, you've got your beautiful little rain cloud ready to go. So just so cool. And so you can earn this paper for free with any $60 order. So how awesome is that? A $60 order will get you the card pack, like the card kit from me to make the 4 cards I'm making today, as well as an extra Sale-a-bration item. So what I am doing today is I'm going to show you how that paper matches up with the Rainbow of Happiness stamp set. So this is a stamp set in that annual catalog, or in the mini catalog. And we're going to use some bits to create a super fun card. So we're going to start here. I have a card base. It is 8.5, or sorry, it is not. It is 11 by 4 1/4, and it's been scored at 5 1/2. Now, before I fold that score though, I'm going to grab my paper trimmer and I'm going to cut a bit off of it. In fact, I'm going to cut 2 3/4 of an inch off of one side. Sorry guys, I just realized that was not on the screen. So I just took my whole paper with my score line and I cut at 2 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to take this piece now. Here, I'll do it up at the top where you guys can actually see it. And I'm going to trim it down to 4 1/8 because it's actually 4 1/4, but I need it to be just a tiny bit smaller. So I've got that. Now, if you're not using the dies that I'm using, you don't need to do that second trim down to 4 1/8. But because the paper that I'm going to layer onto this is actually one of our stitched rectangles, I'll show you guys those. So you get a ton of rectangles, all with the stitching in our stitched rectangles. And so because I'm using 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th size of those, I needed to trim that layer just a tiny bit. If you're just cutting a piece of paper to go on here, then don't worry about it. Just cut your paper to the right size to match it. All right, so with that done, we are not going to glue this together yet. I want to show you, I've got a piece of that designer series paper, that free one, Sale-a-bration one, and I am going to cut one of the rainbows off of it. And I'm not even going to do like a detailed cut. I am just simply like grabbing a rainbow. Okay. These rainbows, they coordinate with the Rainbow of Happiness stamp set and with the dies that come with it. So let's see here. So I've got the dies here. So these are so fun. They have little clouds, the scallops. Really, we're going to use this scallop. It's so much fun. And then a giant rainbow as well. But this little rainbow fits perfectly on that rainbow from the designer series paper. Now, I'm not going to actually cut this out and then piece those pieces onto there. That would drive me crazy. I am not a patient person in that way. So I am actually going to take my rainbow die right onto my rectangle. And I'm going to bring in my mini embossing, Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Plate 3, plate 2. I'm going to put this down with my rainbow all centered and up near the top. And I am going to cut that out. There we go. And while I have my machine here, before I show you the magic that that just did, I am going to also grab a piece of our new, oh, you guys, this paper. This is the Supple Shimmer paper. It comes in this, and let me see, I have a sample here for you guys. It comes in 2 shades. It comes in that bluish tinge and the pink, and it is amazing. So that's the Supple Shimmer paper. I'm going to take that and I'm going to run it through our machine with the largest cloud that we have in our die set, which is not very large. It's pretty tiny, actually. But here we go. And I'm going to run that through twice. Come on. There. And one more. Oh. Come on. Oh, everything shifted on me. Just a second. There. Okay. Oh, why are you not going through? Sometimes, there we go. Sometimes I'll have trouble with my die cutting machines. All right. So we've got that cut out. two little clouds. And then I'll show you that rainbow. When I cut it out, I've centered it on that paper and it just cut out a rainbow right there on our paper. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this designer series paper and I'm going to glue it right behind. Okay, now I am a super lazy gluer. I am going to, you could even use mini glue dots for this. Actually, I might use mini glue dots for this because my seal is annoying me today. So I'm going to grab my glue dots and I'm going to put one up in the top corner, one in the center of my rainbow, like down under the arc, and one up in the other top corner. And with those there, I am going to line this up, push it down, and voila, we've colored our rainbow. That simple. So that is one of the cool things about this designer series paper, is that it coordinates so well with these dies. All right, next up is to stamp our sentiment on here. And I have chosen the sentiment, "You Make Me Happy," out of the ones on here. Now, you could do something totally different. Do a happy birthday, do a thank you, you know, grab something from another set. I just thought I would use the ones that came with this set. And I'm going to stamp it down kind of as low as I can and centered under that rainbow. The reason I'm doing it a bit low is because I'm going to be adding clouds onto this, and I don't want the sentiment to get covered up by those clouds. So with these little clouds, you can put some glue on them, some seal, mini glue dots, whatever it is you would like to do. Oh, I just realized why I'm having so much trouble. I can see that little red line inside my seal. It's just about done. There we go. All right, so I've got those clouds, put a little bit of seal on the back of them, and then they fit like so beautifully at the base of my rainbow. And voila. So now I have the sweetest little rainbow all done. Isn't it cute and simple? I know. I like cute and simple. Now this piece, I'm going to grab my liquid glue and we're going to glue it right down onto that piece of Bermuda Bay that we cut off of our card front. Okay. There we go. Now, do that. Voila. All right. Now, next thing to do for this card is to start to create the inside. Now, where did I put those pieces? Too many bits on my desk. Oh, there they are, right beside me. All right. So now I'm going to create the inside of this card before I put any of this together. So I have just a regular layer of basic white. So these are the ones that I keep pre-cut at 4 by 5 1/4. But I am going to do something a little bit different to this piece. I have here a piece of adhesive sheet. So adhesive sheet actually comes like this. It's a great big 12 by 6 sheet of, like, it's sticky paper. You can make stickers with this. It's a lifesaver when you're die cutting, especially when you're die cutting intricate things. So it's got these little lines here. I'm going to peel it. I'm just peeling one section of it, and then I'm actually going to line up the part that I didn't peel the backing off of and then press down. Okay, so now that I've got that adhered, I'm going to come back to where my fold is, peel off the next section and put that down, and then peel off the next section and put that down. So what I've done now is I've just created a sticky backing to this piece of cardstock. And I am going to grab the long die here in our set. I should actually put all these dies back properly so they fit on this thing. Okay, just like that. Okay, so I've got this long one, and where I have my adhesive on the other side, I am going to put this so that the scallops go out. Now, I did this once before, and I didn't put it down with washi tape, and it moved on me. So I think I'm not going to take that risk again, because then I had to do a whole bunch of like weird trimming, and I don't know, it just didn't work out so well. So I think this time around I am going to use some washi tape. So I've got that lined up exactly how I want it. And I'm just going to grab some washi tape. So I just have like random washi tape in a drawer. And just do a piece like that. Okay. So now I'm going to take, oh, no, I've got it right here behind me. I do need to run this through the big machine because this paper is wider than my small machine. So I've got my big machine, my big plates, and I'm going to run that through. Now, it was really important that you lined that up on the side where you put that adhesive sheet. And you're going to see why in just a second. Oh, I didn't run it through. Okay, so that piece cut off just like that. And then I'm going to very carefully remove this so that my washi tape doesn't tear my cardstock. It shouldn't, but still a little bit careful. There we go. All right, and put that off to the side. Where did those die? Oh, they're there. Okay, and now this piece, I've just got a little chunk on the end to trim because this didn't line it up quite right. So I'm just going to finish the rounding of that. It was going to start a second scallop. So I'm just going to finish rounding that. And that ends pretty round. Good. Now you'll notice when it cut, it left like a little bit of a line on there. So what I've got somewhere is a very small strip. There it is. A very small strip of designer series paper that I'm going to put down just to cover up that line a little bit. So I'm just going to glue that down. I am going to actually use liquid glue for this, and just the tiniest bead. So like even just get it started, and then it's like super nothingness for glue. All right. And pop that down on here. So this strip was cut at 1/4 by 5 1/4, so that it'll fit nicely on there. And you'll notice I haven't worried about taking any of the bits out of my my little rainbow scallop yet, because when I go to attach this to the inside of my card, I'm going to flip it over first, and I'm going to find the edge of my adhesive sheet that I put on here, and I'm going to peel it off. And as I peel it off, you'll see it's taking those inside bits with it. So now that whole edge, including the scallops, is all sticky and ready to be glued down. So I just need to add a little bit of adhesive to the rest of this card back. But that scallop edge that could have been so tricky to glue down, or could have just been left loose, is now all sticky and is going to stay, stuck right down to our card front. All right, so with that done, I'm going to grab this, line it up. Oops, that should go up a little bit higher, I think. There we go. Okay. And once we've got that lined up, press that down, and even across your scallops, press it down, and that adhesive sheet will make those scallops stick right to your card base. So now I have a super fancy, super cute inside of our card, and it really was not hard to do. All right, this card is nearly done. We're going to grab another piece of that same free Sale-a-bration Designer Series paper and glue that right onto the front flap that's left on our card. So we didn't leave much of a flap, but this will fit on there. And so this is cut at 4 by, oh, I think it was, let me measure it in just a second. I don't want to tell you guys the wrong measurement. When you get the card kit from me, you'll also get a PDF tutorial, so it'll have all the measurements, and these pieces will be pre-cut, but you'll get the measurements so that you can cut more of your own. 2.5 by 4. So with that done, I'm going to take that piece that we created before. I'm going to grab some dimensionals, and I'm actually going to put this center top to bottom, but beside where it's actually going to go, so that I can see where to stick my dimensionals right on my card flap. And then I'm going to take this and flip it over and stick 2 more dimensionals out on the edge. So those are out on the left edge of my rainbow. Now with that done, I can peel those off. I can peel these off. And now when I put this down on my card front and center it, I won't have dimensionals that go off in the wrong direction or anything. All right, there we go. And push it down. And now that is attached to our card front. And then our finishing touch on this is, again, my favorite embellishment from our new catalog. It is our Iridescent Rhinestones. And so just grab a couple of those and pop them on. Oh, come on. There we go. All right. And that is our last card for our catalog launch card class. So really, really sweet card using some free product. I'll just quickly bring in and show you all 4 cards that were created today using our new products from our mini January to June catalog. So there you go. Oh, I need my bone folder to put that one down. It's going to drive me crazy having it pop open like that. There we go. All right. So there are the 4 cards that you'll get to create in today's card class. So a $60 order placed with me, and oh darn it, I forgot to share with you guys my host code. I'll get that into the comments in a few minutes, and then you'll get the bits that you need to create these. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope if you have some of these sets, you're going to go play with them. And yeah, that is about it. Let me just take a look. I did have some notes of things I wanted to share with you. Oh yeah, and if you loved everything that you saw today, I am actually doing a product share. I believe the deadline hasn't passed. I think it's Monday is the deadline for my product share. And so I'm doing 5 different ones. I'm doing a designer series paper share, a specialty paper share, an embellishment share, a ribbon share, or an I want it all share. So that's happening. And so you can RSVP for that using that Linktree link. I already talked to you guys about the Stamp Camp, my Wildlife Wonder class coming up. Oh, that was the other thing. I am going to be doing a tulips class at the end of February. What is it? February 26th. And so you will have to RSVP by February 6th. If you get my newsletter, there'll be an email coming out about that soon. And then again, it'll be in my monthly newsletter. So if you don't subscribe to that already, you can. And then finally, we do have, if you're not already a demonstrator, we do have a join promotion going on right now, where for $135, you get $165 worth of Stampin' Up! Product of your choice, plus you get to choose 2 free stamp sets out of either the mini catalog or the annual catalog. So it is quite the deal and a great way to save on stamps, because after that you get a 20% discount on everything that you order, and you get to be a part of my team where we create cards like that Wildlife Wonder one, is something similar to one of the ones that's happening at my upcoming team meeting in February. And we just have a great time stamping together. So thanks so much everyone for watching, and watch for, I'm going to put up the prize draw link in just a moment, and I'll also put the host code into the description of this video. All right, take care everyone. Bye.